It takes a certain level of heartlessness for a man to be able to take the life of the woman who carried him in her womb for 9 challenging months, give birth to him, and still take care of him for over 20 years. This man, named Mathias Amunde, seemed to have attained this level of heartlessness as he did the unthinkable on Christmas Eve 2024. On the 24th of December 2024, Mrs Justina Amunde attended a Christmas vigil in church. However, the program lasted longer than expected, making her return home very late at night. When she eventually returned to her residence in Obudu local government area of Cross River State, Nigeria, she locked all the doors in the house for security reasons. Little did she know that the person she should be more worried about was the one she raised and labored hard for. A few hours into the night, the house help who lived with Mrs. Justina got thirsty and then went to the kitchen to get water to drink. On getting there, she made an unexpected discovery. The house help found out that 29-year-old Mathias Amunde, who was the second to the last child of Mrs. Justina, was hiding in the kitchen store with his friend. Shocked by this unexpected discovery, the house help reportedly screamed and raised an alarm, thereby attracting Mrs. Justina to the scene. It is not clear if Mathias tried to attack the house help, probably to prevent her from alerting his mother, or if she just freaked out after seeing them in such a place at that time of the night. Be that as it may, Mrs. Justina ran to the scene to check what was wrong. On getting there, she was attacked by her own son. Mathias was said to have robbed his mother of all the cash in her possession that night. However, it didn't end there. He went on to hit her with a heavy hammer repeatedly until she lost consciousness and eventually passed away. When Mathias noticed that his mother was no longer breathing, he proceeded to shave her head to use as an ingredient in a money ritual. After doing this, he then decided to dispose of her body. To this effect, he asked his friend to assist him in carrying the body to a well in the compound, where they subsequently dumped it inside. After committing this heinous act, they kidnapped the house help and then ran out of the house to another local government area to hide. The two accomplices were said to have threatened to harm the house help if she ever disclosed the events of that night to anyone. Unfortunately for them, they ran out of luck as the house help was able to escape from their captivity. The girl escaped from them 2 days after the tragic incident. She went directly to her parents' house where she informed them of what happened to Mrs. Justina. The parents then alerted the security teams in the area, who then got the police involved. The team went to the house the next day, where they successfully retrieved Mrs. Justina's corpse from the well. Mathias and his accomplice went into hiding, but since the police had gotten involved in the case, their escape wouldn't be for long. About 12 days after the tragic incident had taken place, Mathias and the ritualist who instructed him to shave off his mother's hair for the ritual were arrested and then taken into custody. However, the friend who assisted him in dumping the corpse inside the well was nowhere to be found. At the time this video was made, Mathias and his accomplice were yet to make any confessional statement in regards to this crime. It was reported that Mathias had a fractured leg, which was a result of an accident he was involved in a few years back. People who knew him personally said he was a very smart boy when he was growing up. However, he started showing signs of mental instability some years later. There are also people on social media who believe that a politician was behind his actions, that he was probably promised something in return for the hair or his mother's life. It is not known if Mathias was a drug user, which would have in a way helped to explain why he did what he did. If that was actually the case, he wouldn't be the first child to kill his mother under the influence of hard drugs. Around 10 p.m. in September 2024, neighbors and passers-by noticed that the gate to Mrs. Fatima Umukoro's residence was open. This struck them as odd because it was very unusual for the family to leave the gate open at that time of the day. The concerned neighbors went into the compound to check what was wrong. On entering the residence, they found out that the main entrance of the building was also left open. The neighbors also saw smoke coming out of the house. When they went in to check, they found the dead body of Mrs. Fatima lying on the floor and burnt beyond recognition. They then recalled that around 8:30 p.m. that evening, they had seen Mrs. Fatima's 27-year-old son, Emmanuel Umukoro, driving out of the compound at a very high speed and in his mother's car. They were able to deduce that it was probably Emmanuel who left the doors and gate to the house open that night. Due to how suspicious Emmanuel's movement was, he ended up being arrested by the police along the Sapele-Warri Road, Delta State, Nigeria. He was then taken into custody for questioning and further investigations. Mrs. Fatima was the proprietress of His Majesty Group of Schools in Sapele. She was also the wife of Reverend Prince Umukoro, the resident pastor of Victory Family Assembly International, and a well-known figure in Sapele. It was discovered that Emmanuel had been dealing with mental health issues which were worsened by suspected drug abuse. It was also said that he had been taken to a rehabilitation center for treatment and that he got better after the rehab. However, after some time, they noticed that he was displaying signs and symptoms of relapse. According to sources, Emmanuel would be seen standing in front of the house and smiling for no reason. He would also experience some sudden and unpredictable violent outbursts once in a while. He was said to have attacked his mother with a cutlass only to be rescued by his father. This attack was said to have taken place some months before he was alleged to have eventually killed her. Things got out of hand on Saturday, 6th of September 2024. On that day, Emmanuel's father had gone for a burial ceremony in Imo State, leaving just Emmanuel with his mother in the compound. Emmanuel was said to have brought out a brand new axe, which he used to fatally attack his mother. After ending her life, he was said to have dragged the body outside and then set it ablaze. Emmanuel then entered his mother's Sienna car and drove to Warri at high speed, prompting the police to stop him along the way and then take him into custody. These tragic cases are exactly why you should be very careful around people who take illicit substances, because the negative effects of these substances can sometimes be sudden and unpredictable, which could lead to irreparable damages. Share your thoughts on these cases in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching and stay safe.